Did you all have a happy Thanksgiving? I had a great Thanksgiving. I ate way too much food. One thing that happened over this Thanksgiving was a terrorist attack in Canada. Ooh, except in real life, it wasn't a terrorist attack. It was just a car crash, and the crazy, insane patriot types are all losing their minds over the fact that it's not really a terrorist attack. Like, they really wanted it to be a terrorist attack. So, what exactly is the story with this? This is the Rainbow Bridge crossing crash. So, basically, Rainbow Bridge crossing at Niagara Falls in New York. And what happened is that this car came at it at a super high speed and then actually like hit the curb or something and flipped over and ran into the border crossing at Niagara Falls there and exploded. Now, when you hear that in the news, what's your first reaction? Right? When I just saw the headline, and the headline said explosion at Canadian border, I admit the first thing I thought of was terrorism too. And it's easy to come to that conclusion, right? Especially when you're living in politically charged times like this. I mean, I didn't think it was Islamic terrorism. I could see why people would. I mean, I actually thought it was right-wing terrorism. That was the first thing that I thought of. But, right now we've got lots of trouble in the Middle East. You've got war going on in Israel. You've got the Palestinian people who are being basically having bombs dropped on them left and right. Thousands of Palestinian civilians dying. I think last time I checked it was 15,000. That was a few days ago, so it's no doubt it's like way more now, although there's a ceasefire going on right now, so who knows? Maybe the ceasefire will last, who knows? But yeah, I could see why somebody would jump to that conclusion. That, oh no, it's a terrorist attack. Turns out this wasn't an actual terrorist attack, it was just a malfunction. Somebody somehow got screwed up. Who knows what happened? Maybe their car malfunctioned. Maybe they were driving, and I've seen it happen before where they'll be driving with high heels, and then like the shoe will get stuck under the pedal, and then it just accelerates, and then they can't stop, and they accidentally hit a tree or something. I've seen that happen. Could be a lot of things. Last I heard, the investigation is still going. But that didn't stop everybody from automatically thinking that this was a terrorist attack. So I actually have a video of it right here. I want to show this to you guys just so that we can get the context of what's actually going on. Okay, let's make this full size. Now, you see my mouse up here? You're going to see, if you haven't seen this video already, it's actually kind of fascinating. You're going to see the car, this is the border crossing. You're going to see the car fly across the top of the screen. And then right around here, it like flies up into the air. So this is only about 17 seconds long. There's no sound here. So there you go. Did you see it? See how fast that thing went? They slowed it down a little bit so you can kind of see it again. See how fast it's like. See, that thing caught some serious air, right? Now, let's watch it one more time. First off, because it's kind of crazy. I mean, damn. It looks like there's a jump. Like, is there a ramp there or something? No, it looks like there's just an embankment. And they were going so fast that they just flew over this thing. And there's another camera angle, which I wasn't able to find, which actually shows the car from a head-on angle. And it's like, yeah, that shit's crazy. Now, first off, the car lands and it explodes. Now, I can understand why you would think it's terrorism, because cars are usually not in the habit of just bursting into flames when they crash. Usually not. But sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. I mean, it's a car. It's got gasoline in it. Whatever. And, the gas tank ruptures. And even though that's something you see in movies and stuff, and you're not supposed to believe that it's actually, like, true or whatnot, it can happen. I mean, I've seen it myself. I've seen, driving down the street and there's like a car on fire on the side of the road after it like hit something. It's been known to happen. But I can see why people would think that it's terrorism. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Subsequent investigations have shown that this was not actually terrorism. There's no actual evidence to think that it's terrorism. There's no terrorist organizations have taken responsibility for it. And the FBI has investigated the crashed vehicle and determined that there's actually not explosives. There was not explosives in the vehicle. You would think that would be good enough, right? Now, here's the thing. First off, all of the MAGA chuds instantly, the minute it happened, right? The same day it happened, investigation is still going, all that. They all immediately jumped to terrorism, and they all immediately jumped to Islamic terrorism. So, without investigating anything, this is Charlie Kirk. Just in, the vehicle explosion at Rainbow Bridge, Niagara Falls, between the U.S. and Canada border, was an attempted terrorist attack with a lot of explosives in the vehicle at the time, according to Fox News. So I could see Fox News, of course, immediately, Charlie Kirk here is just parroting what he saw on Fox News. So is it Charlie Kirk's fault for leaping to conclusions? Is it Fox News's fault? I mean, I think it should be both of their faults, because you should not report something that you don't have evidence for. Right. Now, I could give a little bit of an excuse to Charlie Kirk here, because he's just sort of reporting what the news says. But still, this was like this was the same day. And you can see, here's the screenshot here. Source, NY explosion is attempted terrorist attack, and all this other crap, right? Turned out that wasn't exactly true. So Fox News was the one jumping to conclusions, but doesn't seem like Charlie Kirk did very much vetting himself. I like the little fact-checking things underneath this. Readers added context they thought people might want to know. No official sources have declared this incident a terrorist attack. Investigations are still underway. Various U.S. and Canadian officials have cautioned that it is too early to determine what exactly happened and what caused the explosion at the bridge. It has since been a week, and they have determined that it's not terrorism at all. So, wah wah. Laura Loomer, just in. Following the Islamic terrorist attack at the U.S.-Canada border today, the Buffalo International Airport has closed all arriving and departing international flights. They are concerned this isn't a one-off. Police are also still looking for the second vehicle that got away. It could also possibly be filled with explosives. Turns out there wasn't a second vehicle. Now, of course, the airport, they're not going to take any chances. So yeah, they may ground their flights, and that's actually a very smart thing to do. If there's any kind of indication or fear that something may be terrorism related, they should take all possible precautions. So nothing wrong with that. But you notice that Laura Loomer here hasn't corrected this tweet. As it turns out, it wasn't terrorist related. Nobody said, even the day of when this happened, there was no evidence of it. And no one said that it was related to Islamic terrorism. But you notice here, she just adds Islamic terrorist. There were zero sources saying that this was Islamic terrorism. Zero sources. She just made that up. Made it up out of whole cloth. Because she's a fucking Islamophobe, racist, bigoted piece of shit. That's who she is. Laura Loomer, white nationalist, anti-Islamic piece of human garbage. So, and let's never forget that this is the lady that chained herself to the doors of the Twitter offices back in the day because they shut down her Twitter account or whatever, and she said, "Oh, it's persecution and all this other shit, blah 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 blah." You're not being fucking persecuted, you dumb bitch. Right. It's because you spread lies. That's why Twitter kicked you off. I mean, now she's back because fucking Elon Musk is a fucking Nazi. But anyway, yeah. Here's her other tweet. Breaking confirmed Islamic terrorist attack near the Canada border at Rainbow Bridge in Niagara Falls. Confirmed, huh? Who confirmed it for you? You notice she hasn't deleted this. She hasn't corrected this. You have the ability now to go into Twitter and edit stuff. She's not doing any of that because remember, folks, it's not about the truth. Conspiracy theories like this. Because that's what this is now. It is now officially a conspiracy theory. It has been less than a week. Actually, as of today, it'll be 1 week since this happened. 1 week, it's already a conspiracy theory. They're already saying that on the right wing that this is a cover-up and all this other shit, blah, 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 blah. Didn't take very long for a conspiracy theory to form over this. And just remember, conspiracy theories are not about the actual truth. That has nothing to do with the truth whatsoever. Conspiracy theories are about pushing your narrative, pushing your agenda. That's what they all boil down to. Every single conspiracy theory, especially the political ones, they all boil down to somebody pushing their own political agenda. And it's all propaganda in order to make yourself look good and the side that you hate look bad. That's it. That's all she's fucking interested in. This woman's not a reporter. You know, she tries to claim that she's a reporter. She's not a fucking reporter, right? She's a propagandist. And let's never forget that. You know, the white nationalists and shit like that, they don't care about the actual truth. They're not here to make sure that you're informed or you know what's going on or that you can make rational, well-informed decisions. They don't give a fuck about any of that. All they're interested in is pushing their agenda and feeding you lies so that you support them. It's bullshit, folks. Here is Cat Turd. He is one of Elon Musk's favorite little Twitter trolls. Cat Turd. He's got what's her name from WandaVision making that little what the hell is that character's name again? I can't remember. She's like the bad guy witch in WandaVision. Making a little wink here. What is she winking at? New York Post, $300,000 Bentley that was crashed and exploded on Rainbow Bridge may have experienced mechanical problems. You notice it's because the New York Post is not calling it terrorism. And this is why, of course, the witch here is saying, yeah, giving you a wink like, I believe it. Nice way of actually saying something without actually saying it. You know, this Cat Turd does this kind of thing a lot. He'll always leave himself an out. That's something I noticed from this guy in particular. He'll say racist shit, but it's usually a dog whistle. Like when he's racist, when Cat Turd is racist, when he's like sexist or like Islamophobic or whatever. You know, whenever he says something that could potentially get him canceled, he always gives himself an out. It's much better that way, because then people can draw their own conclusions, or rather, they can draw the conclusion that you're leading them to. But if anybody tries to give you shit over it, you can always kind of say, hey, I didn't actually say that. See, right here, he's not actually saying it was terrorism. He's not actually saying anything like that at all. He's just got a gif of somebody making a winky face, and you can interpret that how you will. What is he really trying to say here? He's trying to say it's terrorism. He's trying to say, He's trying to say that the Jewish media is covering it up for whatever reason. That's what he's trying to fucking say here, folks, right? Here's the thing. If you were a terrorist and you were going to suicide bomb yourself, why would you go buy a $300,000 Bentley and then crash into the border somewhere? Why would you do that? I mean, you imagine, right? If you're a terrorist. Now, here's the thing, folks, right? Like I was saying, this is already a conspiracy theory. They all think it's terrorism. But it seems to me that this is like the worst way in which you could actually engage in terrorism, right? Seems like if you had $300,000 and you wanted to blow something up, you wouldn't go buy a Bentley with it and then crash into a border crossing. I mean, wouldn't you go buy a bunch of dynamite or something? Or like hand grenades or like, I don't know, fertilizer and make a fertilizer bomb? Would you do something like that rather than throwing your life away in a Bentley? Doesn't really make any sense. Maybe they just wanted to die in style, huh? I don't know. Here's one. This is Ted Cruz. Eric Swalwell trolls Ted Cruz after Rainbow Bridge incident ruled not to be attempted terror attack. This is Ted Cruz's tweet. See, Ted Cruz had the decency to actually, delete his tweet. This confirms our worst fear. The explosion at Rainbow Bridge was a terrorist attack. Both attackers are dead, and one law enforcement officer is injured. I am praying that officer makes a full recovery and is able to spend Thanksgiving surrounded by family and loved ones. Thank you to our law enforcement officers who are remaining vigilant and working to protect Americans traveling for Thanksgiving. However, hours later, the FBI concluded the incident was not attempted terrorism. Wah, wah, wah. Ted Cruz, of course, deleted his tweet because he actually has, shame. And he actually, feels like an idiot sometimes. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of decency in that disgusting, depraved, corrupt, black little heart of his. Unlike Charlie Kirk, unlike Laura Loomer, unlike Cat Turd. But still, he fell for the conspiracy. Here's another one. This is a guy named Cagrone number 5, I think. A lot of explosives in the vehicle, an attempted terrorist attack at New York, Canada border. It's part of the conspiracy now. The conspiracy is that this car was filled to the brim with bombs. And even when it turns out, after the investigation is completed, there were no bombs. This was not a thing that was happening. They still believe it. This has been passed around a lot. Here's the same guy, just to kind of get that point home a little bit. Here's the same guy a little later. Now it's being reported that there weren't explosives in the car and it was traveling at a high rate of speed, but the fact that the car is completely obliterated proves otherwise, so basically no one knows anything. So let me translate what's going on here for you folks, right? This person, Cagrone number 5, whoever the hell he is, I don't even know who this guy is. This is just some dude on Twitter, spread around the conspiracy theory that this was a terrorist attack and that the car was packed to the gills with bombs. Then when it came out a few hours later that was all not true and the people who were spreading that were all full of shit and were spreading around a bullshit conspiracy theory, instead of revising his statement and saying, oh, turns out it wasn't a conspiracy theory. Well, thank God for that. Instead of saying that, this guy doubled down on it. And it's like, no, they must be lying. And this is the thing that you always get when it comes to conspiracy theories like this. When someone who believes in a conspiracy theory is presented with evidence that contradicts the conspiracy theory, they never, ever, ever revise the conspiracy theory. They never revise their beliefs and say, oh, I guess I was wrong. Oh, whatever. No, they never do that. Every single time they double down on it. And they say, no, you're lying by giving me this contrary information. You must be part of the conspiracy. You must be in on it. How many times have you argued with any of these people? Or not even argued, but just pointed out that the facts were not what they say they are. And then they turn around and say that you're part of the conspiracy, that you must be bought off by the CIA. You must be an FBI informant. You must be a Fed. You must be controlled by George Soros or some shit like that. That happens to me constantly. Constantly. And it could be about anything. It could be about aliens. It could be about January 6th. It could be about whatever. And it's the same response over and over and over again. Oh, how much did it take for you to sell out your country? Oh, how much did it take for them to buy you out there, you traitor? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, I hope the George Soros is paying you enough to spread these lies. The same shit over and over and over. Found the Fed, or another one is they call you a glowy. That's the thing. They go, that's the slang term or whatever for a federal informant, that you're a glowy. Over and over and over. It's because they can't handle the fact that what they're saying is bullshit, because that challenges their beliefs. See, that's the thing with conspiracy theories. If you try to challenge someone's, a conspiracy theorist, if you challenge their conspiracies, it's like you're challenging their beliefs. It's sort of like if you challenge a Christian to prove his religion. It's the exact same thing, because conspiracy theory shit is like a religion to these fucking idiots. Here's the same guy again. This guy, Cagrone number 5. I think I'm going to follow him. In fact, you know what? I'm going to follow him. There we go. So I can see his wacky conspiracies and shit. Biden and his regime are to blame for allowing our nation to be invaded at our borders. So the fact that somebody crashed a car into the border crossing in Niagara Falls, this is like Biden's fault. And I'm kind of wondering like what Joe Biden can do to stop this kind of thing. Let's say it was a terrorist attack. We know it wasn't. But let's say, the alternate reality that these people pass around was actually true, and this turned out to be a terrorist attack. What exactly would Joe Biden be able to do about a speeding car traveling at a high rate of speed and crashing into the border crossing? What do you want? Do you want a wall with Canada? Is that what you want? Do you want a 50-foot wall with barbed wire all around Canada? Maybe we could put a moat there, with alligators and piranhas in it. That was an actual thing Donald Trump wanted to do. He wanted to put a moat at the southern border with alligators and piranhas. Not making that shit up. That shit was true. He actually mentioned that. It's like, are you fucking joking? Do you want that with Canada? Do you want automatic machine gun nests that pop open and just like hose any incoming car with like bullets until they explode? Is that what you want? Maybe we could put giant robots at the border. There you go. Giant American robots. They can like be painted in red, white, and blue. American Jaeger style. We could do that kind of thing. Huge 50-foot robots with like Captain America shields that'll just pick up any speeding car and throw it back at Canada. I mean, fuck it. We're spending all that money on the military anyway. Where the fuck is our giant robots? Anyway. In Shoma, this sounds a lot like the anti-refugee Dublin rioters in Ireland who went mad a few days ago under similar hate-fueled false impressions after an unidentified man went on a stabbing rampage. Yes, in fact, I was going to talk about that also, but I wasn't able to research that enough. But yeah, the chuds are losing their minds over that too. The same Twitter freaks that you hear are like, Irish lives matter and shit like that. It's like, I don't know. Maybe we'll save that for another video. But yeah, it's absolutely fucking embarrassing. This is a guy named, let's open this up. This is a guy named Dr. Vincent Sativa. The crazy liberals, including the FBI, claim the explosion on the Rainbow Bridge wasn't a terrorist attack. It's just a coincidence that the car had explosives. This is 20 seconds long. Let's listen to what this man has to say.
Okay, so now the liberals want to say that it's not a terrorist attack in New York, that it just so happened to be a car filled with explosives. Well, I got one for you. This is my water pipe. I use it to smoke tobacco. Okay, so now the liberals want...
Okay, yeah. I mean, of course, that is a blatant lie. Problem is, it's not a lie. The car was not filled with explosives. That is the truth. What he believes is an actual lie. So, now, I understand when people don't trust the media because, the media is sensationalist and they have to fill up the 24-hour news cycle and stuff like that. But for the most part, even though all of the shit people talk about the media all the time about how it's all bullshit and it's political and it's all liberal and blah, 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 not really. Not really. Most of what you read in the mainstream media, believe it or not, is vetted. Believe it or not. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't have a pro slant one way or the other. Most of the time, that slant will be pro-corporate. It's not usually liberal or conservative unless, I mean, here's the thing. It's like Fox News will be conservative. MSNBC will be more liberal, centrist liberal. But for most of the mainstream media, most of the networks, most of the things like newspapers and stuff like that, the slant will be corporatist. Not necessarily conservative, not necessarily liberal. It'll be a corporatist slant. That is to say, the status quo. Right? So I can understand why people, are a little fed up with that. That's totally true, but most of the time what you read is vetted. And this is just one of those instances where it happens to be true what the mainstream media is saying. It's true. It's not a terrorist attack. The car didn't have explosives in it. And so is this just an example of a guy who's been lied to so much by the mainstream media that he's now like, he just automatically doesn't believe anything he hears from what he thinks is the liberal media, which in real life is not, it's the corporatist media, you know? But still, I mean, I guess it's just an example of how small the trust is in our sources of news. It's just deteriorated, and that's kind of a problem with the country, you know. And I'm not the first person to like comment on this. You know, 30 years ago, right, when we all had one source of news or whatever, the country was a lot less polarized. And now it's like super polarized because now you can go and pick and choose where you want your news to come from. So, and the problem is, you know, when people get their news from places like Steven Crowder and Charlie Kirk and fucking Tucker Carlson and shit like that, they turn into fucking wackaloons. They turn into right-wing, insane, crazy people. And the shit they believe is just fucking wacky bullshit. Like this guy. Like this guy that we just saw, who doesn't believe anything that he hears anymore because he's been brainwashed by fucking right-wing ideologues. You know, even when the shit that they actually say happens to be true, he's still not going to believe it. And I think that's a big problem with our country, right? How do we address that? I don't know. Media literacy, I think, is something we should teach in schools, but I don't know. I also think that the other way that we fight that is by spreading the truth, you know, doing things like this, like what I'm doing now, making YouTube videos and the like, you know, doing blog posts, spreading stuff around in social media. Spread the truth, you know, use the truth in social media as well. Spread the truth in social media. You know, when they say people are suckers for the truth, that's not exactly true. Now we've kind of found that out now, right? People are not really suckers for the truth, right? The truth doesn't always come out. People are suckers for what makes them feel good. How do you reach a guy when the lies is what makes him feel good? I don't really know. Here's one about the head of the Canadian Conservative Party. So this guy's name is Pierre Poilievre, and he's sort of like the Canadian Trump, right? So let's listen to this. This is only about a minute long. Canadian Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre shuts up liberal journalist after she tries asking a quote-unquote gotcha question regarding the Rainbow Bridge border crash. Let's listen to what this guy has to say here first, right?
Do you think it was responsible for you to call yesterday's explosion by the checkpoint at the Rainbow Bridge terrorism when no U.S. or Canadian officials said that was or authorities said that was the case, and when the New York governor also said there was no evidence to suggest terrorism activity?
Actually, you're wrong. You're a CP? Okay, so CP, by the way, CP, just for everyone's knowledge, did have to make 3 corrections for falsehoods that they put into a single article. I think that might be unprecedented. I'm actually thinking about checking with the Guinness Book of World Records to see if there's ever been a news agency that has had to issue 3 corrections for patent falsehoods that they admit they had been made in one single article, and now you've made yet another falsehood in your question. Where you are wrong is that CTV reported that the government of Canada was presuming that the incident was terrorist. So, yeah, that's what I said in my remarks. You're right. It was a media report.
But it's citing media reports and not...
Which is what I said. In the House, I said there are media reports.
All right. Now, did you all catch what that guy just did? Remember this guy, so he's the head of the Conservative Party in Canada. You know, he's basically like the Trump in Canada, right? Trump equivalent in Canada. Did you catch what he just did? So she asked a question, was it irresponsible to say that this crash was a terrorist attack? He turns around and says, are you with this news group, right? CTV, which I think is like Canada TV or something like that, right? And then he spends a good 45 seconds or so saying how shitty this news station is. And, it's the Guinness Book of World Records for the number of corrections, blah, 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 right? And all that other stuff. So what was he doing there? He basically dodged her question and took the first 45 seconds to kind of put her down. That puts doubt in the minds of the viewers, basically saying this woman's full of shit and she's part of the liberal like media, so she's our enemy. That's what he did for the first like 45 seconds there when he was like bagging on CTV. Like, she didn't ask about what CTV is or what corrections they had to make. He just said that anyway, and it was a way of basically stereotyping her as the enemy. Like, just this woman who was asking this guy a perfectly valid question. Hey, do you take back, like, was that irresponsible? Because it was irresponsible to say, like, especially when you're a fucking politician, it's irresponsible to call something terrorism because it creates fear and people will, it spreads like fucking fear and chaos, right? Because people take when you're a politician, people take what you say super fucking seriously. And it could start like pandemonium. It could start panic, right? It can like get fervor up and people start going crazy and they go out and they end up doing shit like shooting Palestinian people. Like, you hear this thing, like, you heard about this one guy that went out and shot 3 Palestinian students in, like, I think it was in Boston or something. Fucking ridiculous. Like, that's the kind of thing that happens. Or there was another story about a 12-year-old kid who got stabbed 27 times. In fact, we covered that on the show here. Why do people go out and do that? Why do people go out and commit hate crimes against Muslims or people who they think are Muslims? It's because politicians like this asshole go out and spread lies about terrorism. Try to blame everything on Islamic terrorism when in real life this had nothing to fucking do with Islamic terrorism, right? So no, that's a perfectly valid question. And so he dodges it. He poisons the well against this woman by claiming that she's from this news organization, which she has nothing to do with. This woman, I mean, I don't know if she's part of CTV or not, but it shouldn't be relevant also. Like, who someone is, asking the question where they're from, that should not be relevant. Why is what organization she works for relevant to the substance of your answer? It's like, no, how about you just tell the goddamn truth, right? And then he turns around and says, see, I said there were reports. I didn't say it was terrorism. I said there was a report it was terrorism, so I really wasn't saying it was terrorism, right? Well, let's look at the actual, I've got here, here's the actual article in question that this dude is talking about, right? Feds say no evidence of terrorism in bridge blast, criticize Poilievre for terrorist attack remark. The federal government, and this is the federal government of Canada, okay? Federal government confirmed Thursday there is no evidence of terrorism at this time in regards to the Rainbow Bridge vehicle explosion on Wednesday, and are now accusing conservative leader Pierre Poilievre for jumping to conclusions and raising the specter of a terrorist attack early on. Yesterday in question period. What the fuck? That doesn't make sense, but I don't know. That's what it says. Yesterday in question period, when we learned of what was happening at the border in Niagara Falls, instead of taking a step back and asking him what is going on, he immediately jumped to the conclusion that this was a terrorist attack with any knowledge or information that this was the case. Government House Leader Karina Gould said Thursday. Okay, she was referencing Poilievre's first 2 questions to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau during question period on Wednesday. Which, goddamn, is this like written by fucking AI? Isn't there like words missing during the question period on Wednesday, for fuck's sake? Okay, whatever. They're not, goddamn, they're not editing. Anyway. Which came minutes after the PMO issued a statement indicating Trudeau had been briefed about the situation in Niagara Falls. Mr. Speaker, we just heard media reports about a terrorist attack at the border of Niagara. 2 people may have been killed and a 3rd injured. Can the Prime Minister give us any information about this terrorist attack? Poilievre asked in French, a question that began, and here's the time. So, yes, that is what the guys said. Poilievre then asked about the situation again in English, according to Parvu, once again using the phrase media reports of a terrorist attack. So the guy did say it was a terrorist attack. He said, yeah, media reports of a terrorist attack, and then right afterwards said, can you give us any information about this terrorist attack? So that is what the guy said. So he's basically kind of turning it around and saying, see, I didn't say it was a terrorist attack. It was the media reported it was a terrorist attack. It's like, get the fuck out of here. You said it was a fucking terror. Like, it's slimy. That's, when you hear about like somebody saying a politician is slimy, like this is what they mean. This is what a slimy politician is. This motherfucker is slimy. Like trying to say, I didn't actually say that. You've misquoted me. No, they didn't fucking misquote you. You fucking imbecile. You said it, you were like jumping up and down with joy with the fact that it could have been a terrorist attack, because then that means you guys get to spread around more Islamic hate, more Islamophobic fear and hate. And then maybe you get to pass some laws to like kick some fucking Muslims out of the country, or maybe you could put a travel ban or something. Like that's what it all is. It's like, because it's all ammunition for these fucking people in order for them to use in their stupid fucking culture wars. Right. I mean, I don't know. It's just fucking ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And it's indicative of the problems with this country, that even like the politicians now are not even like fucking, they're not like, everything that happens, every little story that hits the news just immediately becomes weaponized in order to basically fucking spread hate and fear. This is now firmly an actual official like conspiracy theory. They now think that this conspiracy, that it's now like firmly entrenched, right, in the conspiracy theory mythology, that this $300,000 Bentley was, going out of control and crashing into a fucking border crossing is now an actual terrorist attack that the evil Jewish media is like covering up for some fucking dumb reason. And I just want to say one more time before we leave this subject here, folks, right? Before we move on to our next thing, one more time, just think about it. If you were a terrorist, and that means that you want to cause damage, that means you want to cause death, damage, destruction, chaos, in order to kill people who are oppressing your, whatever your cause is, and to spread news about it. Okay, that's what terrorism is all about. Terrorism is all about striking out at people who are oppressing you because you don't have any other legitimate means of doing so. And so you want to spread fear for a political cause, right? If you wanted to do that, why would you go like buy the most expensive car that you could get your hands on? $300,000 on a car is super expensive, especially one that you're going to suicide bomb yourself in, right? If that's what it was. Okay. Why would you do that? Why would you not just go and rent a car from your local Toyota dealership or something? Like, who's funding you, right? Which like super rich oil sheik or whatever in the Middle East is giving you $300,000 to spend on a suicide bombing mission? That's bullshit. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Nobody's fucking doing that. Okay. That's dumb. I mean, the 9/11 attackers, did they do that? Did they go spend $300,000 on Bentleys and then crash them into the World Trade Center? Or did they go buy like $200 plane tickets and box cutters for $5.99 at Target and then do their thing? Okay, so that just on its face doesn't make any sense. And then what possible goal are you accomplishing by attacking a border crossing in New York? And it was actually, this was like, they weren't even trying to get into New York. They were like trying to get into Canada. That's like the American side. They're like leaving the United States. Like, what the fuck are they going to attack in Canada? What the fuck did Canada do? Canada's not dropping bombs in the Middle East. Canada's not giving fucking money to Israel to like no, Canada's not occupying Iraq or doesn't have troops in fucking Saudi Arabia. Like, what the fuck? It makes zero fucking sense. And like every conspiracy theory does, every single conspiracy theory falls apart. That's why they're called conspiracy theories and not conspiracy facts. because they fall apart at the smallest fucking examination. The smallest little bit of examination or research into the motives why, or the actual events that happen, shows that it's all bullshit. And this is just another one. Another example of stupid fucking bullshit that these idiots have like glommed on because they can use it to spread their narrative with, because it makes them feel good. Oh, it's Biden's fault. Oh, it's, Biden's allowing these evil immigrants into the country and they're suicide bombing themselves. Oh, it's those damn Muslims or whatever out there. They want to destroy Israel so bad that they're crashing cars into Canada, the Canadian border crossing. Yeah, I guess that'll show those Israelis, right? Like, what the fuck? It's just the stupidest fucking shit of all time. I don't know. Please don't believe this crap, folks. Please. I mean, because it'll happen again, right? And like I said in the beginning, yeah, I understand why someone would jump to conclusions. And it's our job to not do that. Please, whenever shit like this happens, do not jump to conclusions. Take a couple of minutes, wait a little while, see what actually happens, examine the actual evidence, look and see what's actually going on, get your news from actual trusted sources. Don't go to political pundits. Don't go to YouTubers to get your news. Don't go to me to get your news. I'm not a fucking reporter. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just reading shit on the internet. No, go get your news from trusted sources that are vetted, right? Don't listen to fucking Charlie Kirk. Don't listen to fucking Tucker Carlson or Steven Crowder. Those motherfuckers aren't journalists. They're not there to help you. They're not there to tell you the truth. They're not there to give you the super secret info that you need in order to like stop the New World Order or whatever. No, they're not doing anything like that at all. They're just making money off you. That's all this really is. It's just money. That's all it is. It's so these assholes can make money and buy another Rolls Royce or whatever and laugh all the way to the fucking bank when you're like believing their stupid shit. I don't know. It's just fucking conspiracies. Every week there's another one. Every week it's just like you think these people can't get any stupider, and then they do.
Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.